This video has been on my desk since a long time. What you need to understand about ArchLinux installation is that random copying pasting of commands is not going to be helpful at all. There are many such tutorials on YouTube. In my opinion, the best way is to understand the concept, because it's like riding a bicycle, which means if you can do it now, you will never have to learn again. Overall, Arch installation is very simple. You just need to know the concept, know the basics, and be ready to read Arch Wiki pages, which may be daunting to begin with, but the habit gets along. Get the Arch ISO, burn on a CD, and boot your PC using it. The first screen after the boot might be scary, but all you need to do is to read the beginner installation guide on Arch Wiki pages. You can use a secondary device like a mobile or a tablet, or alternatively you can use a text-based web browser called eLinks in the secondary terminal by pressing Alt F2. You can always go back to the first terminal using Alt F1. During the installation process, you will perform a variety of tasks, which are normally automated if you look at other distros. These steps are like doing some basic checks, preparation of the hard drives, installation of base packages, setting up of networks, bootloaders, and so on. For all the checks that we will discuss here are there in the beginner's guide, so I will not discuss them here. But briefly, these checks involve that you have a working internet connection, then identification of the boot type, which can be BIOS for the old hardware or UEFI for the latest hardware, followed by setting up of hardware clock and keyboard layout. While preparing the hard drive, you need to make sure that you reserve the first partition for the boot, which can be 2 MB if in case you are using BIOS, or about 256 MB as a minimum for UEFI. Generally 512 MB is recommended. And also make sure that you do not create any file system on the boot partition, otherwise you will fail to boot ArchLinux. Remaining hard drive setup will be unique to each user, where he can have as many partitions as required, but typically one would start with the root partition, then ideally a separate partition for the home, and so on. Once partitions are ready, we will make file systems and mount them to proceed to the installation of base packages using pacstrap command. After the installation of base packages, FS tab is generated and user has to log into the freshly installed base setup using chroot command or change root command to finalize the key elements like network, time zone, system locale, etc. Finally, before the installation can be considered complete, one needs to install a bootloader of the choice. Normally these days grep2 is a default choice, and then followed by installation of microcode depending on the processor type. As a last step, one needs to update initramfs and then reboot. After the first boot, the environment is pretty basic. It's basically a command line interface. From there, you need to install a display server and then desktop environment and the software you need. ArchLinux unique that all of the configs, all of the installed software is chosen by you specifically and not dictated by the developers. Typically it takes about 30 minutes or less, depending on the internet connection, to have a PC working using ArchLinux from scratch. Eventually anyone using ArchLinux does not equal to a pro, and similarly anyone using Ubuntu, for example, is not a noob. It depends on choices and the time a person is willing to spend with his PC. I hope this video helps. Goodbye.